Hi, welcome to SBR.TV. I'm Peter Loshak. It's week 4 in college football, week 3 in the NFL, and we're continuing our betting analysis and search for line value in football with professional handicapper and SBR moderator Justin Seven. We'll start with college football. Justin, thanks again for being with us.
Hey, Peter. Good morning.
So how'd you do last week? Did you okay? Did you make money?
No, I think I lost my ass last week.
Really? If you don't mind my asking, what did you lose on?
Wise Guy Teasers in the NFL went 2-2. Everything I played were 3 and 4 teamers, so I lost all of those. Bet Phoenix will thank me for that.
Well, you're a pro, so I'm sure Bet Phoenix won't be thanking you in the long run. I did okay last week. Remember, I picked Washington, plus 21.
Yes, and they. Did you take any money line on that also?
No, but I did take a pretty big parlay with the under.
Oh, you got a correlated parlay in there.
I did. I wasn't sure they were going to accept it. The line was like around 20. Total was in the low 50s, but they did. What's usually the cutoff for same game sides and total parlays like that?
Yeah, if it were like mid 50s, that would be a marginal correlated parlay, and they might let you do it. But it's marginal only if you're blindly flipping coins. If you like the side, then it's obviously much stronger.
Right. Well, I like the side and the under as well. Were you at all impressed that I like Washington? They covered so easily?
Well, the impressive part was you took them when they were at 21 before the market agreed with you. So that to me, that's more impressive than actually winning a bet.
Okay. Well, let's revisit the Florida State BYU game from last week that I asked you about, which was another game that the market impressively agreed with me on, but turned out to be a humiliating loss both for BYU and for anyone who bet them. Now, were we completely wrong on that? I mean, what happened? BYU was a 7.5-point favorite when we talked about it. I said I liked it at that number. You said you agreed with me. You put the fair line at about 10. It closed at 8.5. But Florida State completely dominated BYU. So what's your take on what happened?
Well, it's early in the season. We don't have a lot of data points to evaluate teams. They just did, we now have a new data point that suggests they weren't as good as we thought.
So are there any implications here for the Miami-Virginia Tech game that's coming up? Because since Miami did beat Florida State on the road in week 1, that was the first game that I wanted to ask you about for this week. I'm liking Miami here. I did bet them already pretty big at minus 2.5. Of course, they're on the road. They're a small road favorite at Virginia Tech. But the numbers do seem to be saying that Miami is much better than Virginia Tech. You know, Virginia Tech hasn't done too well offensively against the other top 25 teams that they've faced, and they got kind of lucky in their win over Nebraska last week. They had big plays that saved them on offense. It wasn't a matter of like a consistently good offensive effort. Miami, though, shut down Georgia Tech's running game that features last year's ACC Player of the Year running back in Jonathan Dwyer. And Miami's offense has also been very good. Their quarterback, Jackery Harris, is being mentioned as a Heisman candidate, and Miami's running backs have done well, and they're going to be going against the Virginia Tech run D that, sort of has a reputation of being good, but they've allowed a 100-yard rusher for 3 straight games. So the numbers so far definitely seem to be saying that Miami is much better than Virginia Tech, even though it's, of course, been only a few games. So what's your take on this game?
Well, I do have to give you a disclaimer. I grew up at Virginia Tech, so I'm biased in favor of the Hokies. So I used to go to all their games when I was a kid. Despite this bias, I think Miami minus 2.5 is the right side. If you look at how the Hokies have played against good teams, not their one tune-up match, they had like 150 yards against Alabama, 250 against Nebraska. This is, in both games they were crushed in yardage. It ensured they won one of them. Big turnover differential. Their defense is good. But I don't think they can beat Miami just with defense. I think they're going to have to actually put some points up on offense, and I'm not convinced, I'm not convinced they can do that. I could see this one being, 34-20 Miami.
Right, that's my feeling too. And there's actually a good thread on this in the college football handicapping forum where a poster sums that point up pretty well. It's the poster Wall66 here, and he wrote, the Canes, I'm quoting Wall66 now, the Canes defense really only has issues in the secondary and then only in getting a little lost in coverage. A team capable of exploiting the secondary can beat Miami, but is Virginia Tech that type of team? If they are, they have yet to show it. So that pretty much sums it up. That's what I think. And I'm going to be on Miami minus 2.5. Okay, now let's get to the second game that I wanted to talk about. which is TCU at Clemson. Now, TCU is ranked number 15, and they're a 2.5-point road dog at Clemson with a low total. I personally am liking TCU on a teaser here. I'm expecting this game to be close and low scoring, and I think that Clemson is having a lot of little problems in general, as well as an offense that doesn't seem too explosive. So I'm liking getting all those extra points with TCU's supposedly strong defense, although it does concern me that a lot of people seem to be leaning towards Clemson here. And again, there's a great thread on this game in the forum where some well-informed people are loving Clemson. So that does make me a little nervous. I'm still liking TCU on a teaser, though. What do you think?
Again, it's always difficult to tell, but one of TCU's games was a tune-up game against South Moorhead, Texas, or some no-name school who still put up 21 points on them. I'm not sold on TCU yet, and I think going into Death Valley, they got their work cut out for them.
Well, what about the fact that Clemson's offense has looked so anemic to start the season? Last week they had only one touchdown, and it was on a punt return. A lot
of times in the early games, you may have a team that's only had one or two good games and one or two tune-ups. So you look at the one or two games and say, for example, you have a team that did very poorly on third down conversions. That would tend to deflate their score, and they would look worse than they actually were. Same thing with turnovers, especially fumbles. So if you have a team that looks bad versus a team that looked good, I'll take the bad-looking bum anytime.
All right, well, even if TCU doesn't have an edge on this line, then what do you think about using TCU in a teaser? I'm expecting you to say that that's a good bet, since it's a game with a low total in the 40s, and it should be a close game, and a teaser here will cross the 3 and the 7.
Normally, if you're getting a two-team teaser at even money, you want to capture, push your win rate from 50% to 71%. You want to capture 21% of the game results with that extra 6 points. Now in the NFL, when you cross the 3 and the 7, the 3 is going to hit 10, 11%. The 7 is going to hit 6, 6.5%, and you're going to get more than 21%. In college football, though, teasing underdogs does not work nearly as well. You're not going to capture 21%. So generally, even with a low total, I would say it's a bad idea to tease a small dog in college football.
Okay, interesting. Well, I'm on TCU as a teaser, so maybe it's a negative EV bet, since teasing them is a bad blind bet, and some knowledgeable people are liking Clemson on the spread. But whatever, I'm rolling with it. Are there any other games in Week 4 that have caught your eye? You think there might be some value there?
Yeah, there are a couple others that I like. Washington State plus 45.5. You give me any horrendous team against any good team and too many points, and I'll take them.
Okay, anything else?
On Friday night, I also like Missouri minus 7 against Nevada.
All right, Missouri minus 7. And then there is one last thing that I want to get your take on. You might not have an opinion on this because it's obviously about as far away from quantitative analysis as you can get. But how should we handle all the reports of the flu going around? I mean, it's obviously a real factor, and it's something that is affecting a lot of teams, or at least it seems like it is. I mean, you hear rumors and reports of it going around. What should we do? I mean, a lot of times you'll be reading about some team, and then you'll come across something that says, oh, and also, they've got 12 guys in the hospital right now with the flu, but they're all going to play. They're all expected to play. So, it seems like it really can throw a complete monkey wrench into capping. There are reports actually that the flu might be hitting number 1 ranked Florida this week. So what's the proper reaction to news like this? Should we ignore it or what?
Get someone to read the local newspaper. They'll have better information on it. If you really have, a fourth of the team down with the flu and the line hasn't adjusted, then you have an edge.
Right. So how much do you personally look out for that when you're capping games right now?
If I hear a rumor, I'll find someone to confirm it, try to get better, substantial information. But if all you can find is a rumor that you can't confirm, then I just disregard it and use your other information.
Right. But I have been reading that Florida might be getting hit with the flu this week. We'll see. Okay, well, that's it for this week. Thanks again, Justin.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay, SBR, that's it for Week 4. I'm going to stick with Miami minus 2.5 and my TCU teaser that might be negative EV. But I'm looking forward to Week 5 next week when Justin Seven's stat modeling starts to become relevant and predictive. So look out for that. And, of course, SBRforum.com is where you can go to discuss all this and more. For SBR.TV, I'm Peter Loshak.